David Njoku, the Browns give him a big-time, long-term contract, and he's now paid like one of the best tight ends in the game. Me and Jeff are going to tell you why exactly that is a great thing and a good idea for the Browns to do. Also, we'll let you know there's a difference between cookouts and barbecues. All coming up on the latest episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things dog pound, LGB, on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Your host, Garrett Bush. We're going to break it all down here today. Today's episode is brought to you by the fine folks over at BetOnline. Everybody knows about BetOnline. They've been with us for a long time. You want to put some skin on the game? BetOnline.ag is where you want to go. Best lines, best odds, best props. Go ahead and check those folks out. As you can see, it is Monday, Memorial Day weekend. Some folks still in the house after a long weekend. I'm in the B studio here today in my own home, but we got works we got to do. Everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen day in, day out, we truly appreciate you, whether it is now newly on YouTube, whether it is your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you're following, subscribed. The subscribers on YouTube, come on, guys. We're in like the mid-5 range. Let's get those numbers up. But we're going to continue to bring the best content we can on a daily basis. As Garrett has mentioned, late Friday news drop, and I was tipped off that maybe there was going to be some late Browns news on Friday. I got to be honest, I had my fingers crossed. I was concerned about what maybe those news would have been, but it was certainly a positive. Going into a 6th year, David Njoku has been extended for the long term. We're going to break this down here a little bit. And I know there's some people who have some negatives towards this. There's people who have some positives towards this. And we're going to get into this a little bit here. And this isn't as far off as people think it truly might be, Garrett, as far as extending a player of David Njoku. Look, a lot of it is banked on what they think David can be when he is going to be the tight end number 1 for this team. But there's a lot of positive to this. But I do understand anybody who may be naysaying this a tad bit. But go ahead, Jay.
Well, I definitely, as we do in my radio show, the barbershop, when this news broke, there was a lot of people on Twitter like, David Njoku is now being paid like a top 5 tight end. And, he's had some issues with drops in the past. He's had some issue with whether or not he's a solid or competent run blocker or blocking tight end. And they've really just said his production overall wasn't where they wanted it to be if you're talking about in terms of that amount of money. But for me, I looked at it in a totally different situation because what you're doing is you're looking at your opportunity cost here. If you don't want to, they already franchise tagged him. So, they had already shown interest that they wanted to keep him. And that was a figure at $11 or so million, which isn't far from what they're giving him with the 13 per year. So for me, I looked at it in terms of that. And then on top of that, you have to take in consideration, if you don't give that money to David Njoku and you don't sign him back or you don't bring him back, well, who are you replacing him with? Sometimes it's better to have a guy that's in your system that you already know what he is. You feel he has some upside, and you think as a coaching staff you can coach him up to kind of crack that ceiling. And when you got a guy like Deshaun Watson as a top 5 quarterback, you automatically expect that the production of your receivers, tight ends, and running backs are going to go up because of what he is as a quarterback. So for me, I thought it was a good deal. I think that it signifies that the Browns are going all in. They want to make sure that they got every T crossed, I's dotted, so that in fact that there is a Deshaun Watson suspension. They're giving somebody like Jacoby Brissett the best people that they can give and have at his asset or add at his value, so that they can go ahead and win some football games. So I really like to move.
See, for me, there's like several avenues to look at this. When the Browns regime took over 2 years ago, Now, keep in mind, in 2019, David Njoku missed most of the year, broke his wrist early. That Monday night game against the Jets was never really the same, was never really a factor, and obviously was not only a lost season for David Njoku, it was a lost season for the entire franchise, essentially. So they basically came in, and it was raw with David Njoku. What they knew is they had a huge, big, athletic player at the position who needed to be coached up. Really odd to talk about this type of player in going into year 4, Garrett, but that was the case it was for the Browns, and that's just facts, just the way it was. They covered their bases at the time. They spent a ton of money on Austin Hooper. They did not know what they had in David Njoku. You go back to the beginning of the 2020 season. David Njoku was not playing a ton early. And the thought process there and from the regime and from the coaching staff is if you are going to be a full-time tight end in this NFL, you can't just be a guy who catches passes. You need to be a two-way fundamental player at the position. David Njoku took to the coaching, took to the words he was being told, put his nose to the ground, and put in the work. His blocking picked up. Therefore, his involvement in the passing game in 2020 picked up. Now you go to 2021, kind of hit the ground running here. Now he's comfortable as a blocker, always been comfortable as a receiver. As the year went on, we saw a step down, certainly, within the game of Austin Hooper. We saw where David Njoku was stepping up. David Njoku had less receptions than Austin Hooper last year, had a boatload, more receiving yards. David had four receiving touchdowns. Austin Hooper only had 3. But what you saw was the culmination. And here was the thing, is there's no question about it. Whether it was as a receiver or as a blocker in 2021, David Njoku was the best tight end on the Cleveland Browns roster. So what do the Browns say? And this is kind of what we've been saying with some of the players that have been getting extended. Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb. You put in the work. You improve. You be somebody that we can say, hey, this guy had some deficiencies that we weren't sure about. They've improved upon those deficiencies. They become a better player. They become a stable part of this team. These are the guys we are going to extend. And anybody who's surprised about the extension, once you put the tag on him, where did you think this was going? The tag was the whole purpose of, we're going to tag you because we want to get this contract figured out. We want you here long term. There's not much difference in age between David Njoku and Austin Hooper. Although, where you look at David Njoku, you look at a player who was on the rise. And even though they're about, I think it's 16, 17 months apart in age, Austin Hooper last year certainly looked like a player who was already on the decline. So with the Browns and with this tight end position, this is a player they like. And we've talked about this. And I don't care if you believe this or not. Deshaun Watson 100% is here to raise the abilities, the production of a lot of these players. Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, Anthony Schwartz, David Bell doesn't fall into this realm, obviously. But if you went and got the elite of the elite in the Browns front office opinion of the quarterback, everybody's statistical production is going to pick up. Last year it was, I think, 36 receptions. It was like 415 change, 4 touchdowns. Is he going to be challenging Kelsey, Mark Andrews in the statistical production? No, he's not. That's not the way this offense works. And a lot of this is dictated by defense and coverage and a quarterback going through the reads. Is it more of a, hey, he's going to be north of 50? We're talking maybe 700 yards, maybe 800 yards. Does that 4 touchdowns turn into 7, 8? But you have a complete tight end, and you have a guy who put in the work. And for the naysayers, yes, I understand. The Browns paid for production they have not seen yet from this player. But that does not mean that they feel any differently or any less confident about this move. The guy can play. Go to the Charger game last year. When you try to feature him, when you try to focus on him, he can be as big of a factor as a receiver at the tight end position as anybody in the game. It's just a question of which game dictates those opportunities for a player like David Njoku.
Yeah. It's all about targets, opportunity, and who's throwing them the football. And I think the Browns are confident in both of those things. And I'm really interested to see how many targets he's going to get during this season, because I think he's going to be a big part of the offense right after Amari Cooper.
I have no questions about that. And, again, week to week, it's going to change. And once Amari Cooper starts to eat, once David Njoku starts to eat, then it's going to be David Bells, the Donovan Peoples-Jones. It's going to be your time to contribute. So this way, now the coverage cannot be dictated to one player or another. Memorial Day weekend here, Monday, Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, from Garrett and I to everybody paid the ultimate sacrifice for two fools like us to be doing something like this that we get to do. So many sacrifices were made for what we live in here in the United States. God bless everyone. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. We're going to continue here with this. We're going to go into a little bit of the involvement of the tight end position, the way it's currently going to be, because this is a big talking point. This team, this coach, this offense absolutely loves the tight end position, and it's going to be a big change, but we're going to get to all that. And of course, we're going to get to, look, I know everybody went out this weekend somehow, some way. And me and G. Bush, we're going to let you know, like, there's a big, big difference between whether you went to a cookout or whether or not you went to a barbecue this weekend. All that and more, your latest Locked On Browns. This episode is brought to you by the good folks at betonline.ag. Whether you enjoy, spending a couple of shekels, whether it is the NBA playoffs, whether it is obviously the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. I just want to thank everybody again who makes Locked On Browns their first listen, day in and day out. Garrett and I appreciate it. As we begin this new venture together, now teammates, co-host on Locked On Browns. Garrett, and the thing here where maybe some people are going to get a little bit confused is the fact that, there's money being here. And look, David Njoku, this is the part that people don't understand. He was on the 5th year of a first-round contract. He was making good money. Austin Hooper was making better money. And anybody who's concerned about the money, if you equate it to where the salary cap is now, as opposed to where the salary cap is when Austin Hooper was signed in 2020, guess what? It's not much of a difference. And now with Harrison Bryant being your number 2 tight end and being a 4th-round pick, picked in the hundreds, this room is essentially cheaper than it was originally slated to be going into the season.
I think when you look at it, I think people have this new, I don't know where it came from, but I would say probably about 20 years ago, there was this thing where, people started running around and really trying to be capologists. Like, they started, looking around and I don't know where it came into society or where it came into fandom or pop culture, but, now everybody is so quick to tell you about who doesn't deserve what, or why or not you overpaid or underpaid a guy. And I just was like, some of you guys, I was in 5th grade with you. You guys weren't very good at math. You didn't do algebra very well. And now all of a sudden you could tell me exactly how much cap space the Browns have and who they can't pay if they pay this guy. I always ask, if you're looking at it, who have the Browns not been able to sign based on the fact that they've paid a bunch of other people too much money and they have to cut the purse string? It hasn't happened. So at the same time, while you got Deshaun Watson, they still signed Denzel Ward. They're still signing guys to the contract. They signed 5 or 6 dudes.
Extended Nick Chubb, extended Denzel Ward, brought back Jadeveon Clowney. Everybody's eating at the big boy table.
And all of it. So why are you trying to play the miss? I think it's that people want to be the smartest guy in the room. I think people want to say, you gotta be conservative about what you do with the money because this person contract is going. I'm like, listen, man, I'm not counting nobody's coins. I'm sure that these Ivy League guys and Mr. Moneyball himself, Mr. DePodesta, has a great team of financial stat guys, and they could tell you the future of the salary cap and projections. So I think we need to all stop for once and for all about being whether or not you overpaid for a person or not.
And the thing is, look, the salary cap, it forever is going to go up. Obviously, you hit a little halt in emergency break with the COVID situation. And look, that's just the way it went. And still there was tons of flexibility for every franchise. You look at a team like the New Orleans Saints. We do this every offseason with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are $75 million over cap. And guess what? The Saints just signed Tyrann Mathieu. You get yourself where it's, guess what? We're going to restructure every single year. And of the $9 million salary you're going to get paid, it's now going to be $7.5 million. And a signing bonus. If you've heard the term kicking the can down the road, that is exactly what it is. And this is what's going to go on. Anybody's concerned about future money? Well, guess what? You want a simple one, easy one? Jack Conklin at right tackle. Guess what? Maybe they don't need Jack Conklin next year. So Jack Conklin, which could be on the last year of his deal here with the Browns, now you've opened up, I think, $8.5 million. So there you go. There's $8.5 million just like that. Kareem Hunt is not slated to be on this Browns roster next year. Guess what? There is more cap space. Greedy Williams is not a ton of money as a former second round pick, but there is more money created. It can be done. It can easily be done. I hate the phrase that salary cap is a myth, because it's not. It's whether or not how you know how to work it, how you know how to function around it. But now getting to this tight end position, Garrett. Now Harrison Bryant, the blocking has been coming through 2 years, and it's very similar to David Njoku. I'm putting in the effort. It's not going to come right away. But now you get to this where the Browns looked at this tight end position, and they love the tight end position. So anybody that's thrown off about the Njoku money, you shouldn't be, because they feel the tight end is essential to the Kevin Stefanski offense. So now you elevate David Njoku to tight end 1. Harrison Bryant now becomes your bona fide solidified tight end number 2, making no money. So you basically took the 2 guys who showed the best as receivers at the tight end position last year and bump them up in the pecking order. This is a nice room. And as far as are they going to go 3 deep, there's going to be a third tight end. It may not be any of these names that are being bantied about that are currently with the Browns. They may go out and just find the essential third offensive tackle to come in and just be a solid run blocker. And then every now and then when nobody's paying attention, we'll toss them a little bone or whatever. But this is a group here. It is now, look, Austin Hooper came here with a reputation of being an athletic, solid player in the passing game. I got to be honest, we didn't get to see that so much. 2020 was good. 2021, there were times where he was tripping over blades of grass. There were balls tossed, right around here between the chin, above his numbers, didn't come down with them. It's not, look, it's just the way it is. I'm not trying to, we're just giving real analysis. Everybody knows this. Everybody saw it. But so the point is, all right, so then these 2 guys, and for David Njoku and people with the drops, yeah, look, I had some bad habits 3 and 4 years ago too. David Njoku dropped 2 balls last year. So we can take that one, we can kick that one in the river, because it just wasn't the case last year. This is a nice looking tight end room. You're going to hope for a little bit more from this third tight end, because God forbid either one of these guys misses time between Njoku and Bryant. But this is the makings of a pretty solid tight end room here for a team that should be able to get these tight ends more wide open, because, again, Deshaun Watson should be able to bring this vertical presence to the passing game that they really haven't been able to have the last couple of years.
Yeah, when you look at it, you can have 2 tight ends. They love tight ends. You might even see a third tight end. Stanton or some of the fullbacks that they have. They can use those guys as a third tight end if they don't really want to bring somebody else in. That way, Kevin Stefanski actually loves fullbacks too. I think he's one of the only teams besides Kyle Shanahan to actually have a fullback that actually blocks and does different things like that. So you can even see one of those guys flex and be an H-back and tight end on goal line situations. But, this was an essential part of what they wanted to do. And I think the tight end position is a little more athletic. It's a little more solid. And they got the best guys on the field and to catch the football. And it could be because, like you said, Hooper was not what he was advertised to be, and I think the Browns did the wise thing and moving on from him early.
And this is where, and I'm just going to close with this before we get to our third segment. And we only have one ad here. The off season, the ads run a little bit less, but we'll get to all that nonsense here in a second. But this is where what you look at from this regime, Now, these are players that have been extended by this regime. A lot of times in the NFL, what do you see? It's about our guys. It's about the guys we brought in. Well, Myles Garrett's here for the foreseeable future. This regime did not sign him. Nick Chubb is here for the foreseeable future. This team did not draft him. Denzel Ward is here for the foreseeable future. Catching where I'm going with this, guys? Foreseeable future. And now David Njoku, they did not draft him. Foreseeable future. It is about understanding and recognizing what you think is the core of your roster. What is the best thing for your team going further? And that is what I absolutely love about the way the Browns do business. They find a player, they identify, he fits, he works, he's part of this, and they establish it, they make it work. And it's just great to see because there's no blinders, there's no personal business to this. And you keep in mind, Myles Garrett was a Sashi guy. And now we're talking about guys with John Dorsey guys. It doesn't matter. If you are going to do what we need you to do, you are going to work like we need you to work. If you're going to represent this organization like we want you to do, that's it. That is what we are going to build a foundation of. And it's so great for a team that never had any idea how to even establish or build a foundation. And even Joe Batonio, for as long ago as he was, for God's sakes. So all of that. We're going to shift gears here. Again, everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen, day in, day out. It means the world to us. Obviously, here we are growing yet again here with the podcast that has been in existence since 2017. Now on the YouTube, me and Garrett getting to know each other, busting each other's chops, having a little fun here, stalking some Browns here. And again, we still haven't even gotten to talk about football yet, which is the craziest part. So make sure you're checking us out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe over there, wherever your favorite podcast platform is, where you get your podcast. Follow, subscribe, leave those 5-star ratings and written reviews. We truly appreciate it. And G-Money's kick it off here because we got to get to the biggest misconception of summer holidays.
Well, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You came on my radio show, The Barbershop, and we were kind of chopping it up earlier about this. And this is actually a topic that we were going over before. So for me, I always enjoy summertime and getting out with family and friends. But if you know anything about summertime, you know about cookouts and you know about barbecues, right? We know about those type of gatherings, but some people don't really ask the correct question. The question for me is, what is the difference between a barbecue and a cookout? There's all kind of unwritten rules about this too. Like, do you have to bring your own meat to the table? Do I gotta, if the coals is running, can I touch another man's grill if I want to put my own meat on the grill? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like all these are different, man. And I just think, I throw this out there all the time. Sometimes you can have a gathering and it just turn into something, right? Sometimes when you're doing something like a barbecue, that has to be planned because you got to have a lot of stuff moving. So, Jeff, let me ask you this question. And how you do it and how you understand it, what do you believe is the difference between a cookout and a barbecue?
First things first, a cookout means we got a propane grill and we think there's enough gas in it there where we can make some food. Because the first thing, everybody picks it up. I think we're good. I think we're good. Me, I only grill with charcoal. Guess what? If I see 3 bags, I can cook all day and I can cook all night. With the cookout means your host may say, we got burgers, we got dogs. Oh, crap. Can you pick up rolls? Oh, can you pick up hot dog rolls? Oh, Janie's coming. Janie, can you get some ketchup and can you get some mustard? And the other thing where it gets really, really misfangled and confused is a cookout, your sides are Doritos, Lay's potato chips, or whatever chips were 2 for $5. Whatever chips were 2 for $5.
2 for $5, right?
And if somebody tried to fancy up your cookout, they brought the store-made mac salad, the store-made potato salad. When you go to a barbecue, look, everything there is made. And when you're talking barbecue, you're talking smoking food. You're talking ribs. And, I told this to Garrett today. I said, if you go to a barbecue, they tell you to come at 11 or noon. The real food doesn't come till 2 to 3 hours later.
Right.
You know what? You get there and you're like, oh, man, that smells great. I'm starving. Oh, bro, we got 2-3 hours, bro. The chick just went on. The ribs have been on for 2 hours. They still got 2 to 3 hours more. Don't touch the sides. Don't touch the baked beans. Don't touch the potato salad. Don't touch the macaroni. It's all got to flow together. And, look, alcohol, that don't count. Whatever you like to drink, you drink. And look, if you're going to the cookout or you're going to the barbecue, you best bring your own drink, because that's just the way that works. But there's just such a tremendous difference. And look, a cookout is, I'm getting burgers and I'm getting dogs. We don't need paper plates. We don't need them, because guess what? I can hold it in my hands. While we're shooting the crap. Why we're playing whatever yard game that you love, whether we're throwing horseshoes, whatever it may be. But the barbecue, and the other thing with a cookout is there may not be a table, and if there is the table, it's that little square one that should have 4 chairs, but maybe only 2 of the chairs work. Maybe a couple of legs are broken. Barbecue got a nice long table, usually covered in just straight paper, because at the end you're just going to roll it all up because it's going to all sloppy. That's going to go right in the garbage. For me, and now that I'm older, look, we all went to the cookouts back in the day. We all were young. We all went to college. Older, established, the barbecue is the way you want to go. And, you got to manipulate it. If I'm going to get the ribs now, I got to get the baked beans. There's a little steak over there. You know what? I'll eat. And look, burgers and dogs, look, they're going to be at either one. It's certainly, if you go to the barbecue, it's like option E on the food panel at the barbecue.
It's what the little kids eat. The little kids eat the hot dogs and hamburgers with the Kraft singles on them. But the kids, the kids don't get no brisket. You look at it, because they can't respect it. They don't know what they eat, and they can't taste the aged smoke. They don't understand it. They just ooh, I don't know. Daddy, could you give me a hot dog? Yeah, get the Oscar Mayer wieners over there. Stay out. Let the grown folks take care of this.
I only like my buffalo wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, and son, stay from the chicken. Don't touch my chicken. Is it all the same? Hell no, it's not all the same. There's 5 different types of chicken there. Do you like it spicy? Do you like it sweet? How do you like it?
Is jerk chicken over there? Barbecue chicken?
Look, son, don't take one bite out of it and say, oh, well, and the other thing is, you take one bite out of it, you like it, and you're going to put it in a garbage can, get your butt up and out of here. Because that is a huge, if you're not sure if you like it, don't touch it.
That's the biggest faux pas ever. And if you got your children with you and they tell you, I want some of that. All right, well, listen, I'm going to give you some of that, but you better eat it. You
better bite off of mine, and this way we'll see if you're going to have a little bit more, because my boy's going to shoo me right up and out of this joint.
Man, the difference is there. It's so many levels, but the great thing about barbecues is you get food connoisseurs there. You get people that can respect a good piece of meat. That you get a lot of grill masters there too. A lot of people that want to come and test each other's barbecue, because it's actually like a little jousting session. Bring them over the first time. Let me show you my new little smoker got. I got some hickory that I done chopped down and imported, and it's over here, and I got the smoker. So here's the thing. You get a lot of people, and then next week about barbecue, if you do a good job this week, some of your neighbors going to try to outdo you. Well, we got one next week, and let me show you how I do my chicken and beef.
Wait till you taste Lisa's potato salad. You have no idea what she puts in that. But there's different styles. Or the other thing is, oh, my God, the chicken looks a little black. No, honey, that's flavor. Girlfriend, that's flavor. It ain't burnt. That's the flavor on top of chicken. Yes, it's a little black, but once you get under that skin, girlfriend, it can be something like you never tasted before.
They don't know. You preaching to them now. They don't know what they're missing.
But the most important thing, obviously, with this conversation is, and look, for everybody, we've been sheltered a lot for the last 2 years. But you get these holidays, and it's this time of the year here, and we're getting back to some normalcy, and you're getting to see people that you haven't seen on a regular basis, or huge parts of their life. FaceTime, Zoom, that's all great and well, but there ain't nothing like the general, just being around people that you love, people that you appreciate. So, that's what this all comes down to. Certainly, we're having some fun here, and whatever, if you need a question or you need to find out whether or not you're headed to a cookout or you head to a barbecue, hit up myself at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Hit up at GBush91, because we'll help you out here, because there's like a proper way to work,
It's a protocol.
And there's a simple one. Like they tell you to bring some chips, you're going to a cookout. They tell you to bring some buns, you're going to a cookout. Usually barbecue, bring some dessert? Could you bring a little more beer? We've got all the good stuff that's needed. So we'll be your doctors. We'll be your Dr. Phil to get you through this type of stuff here. It was a great way to start the week here. Obviously, after Memorial Day weekend, this will be your Tuesday episode. Obviously, paid homage. Took Monday off here. A million more things more important than Locked On Browns. Important that the musings of Garrett Bush and myself here. So it was a good day here, but there were huge Browns news to get to, of course. David Njoku extended here. The Browns just trying to build this core of great young players who happen to be freak athletes, embrace the city of Cleveland, and want to be a part of this team ultimately finding the ultimate success. So that is just fantastic with it. We'll get into it more here as the weeks go on, as the week goes on here, Browns-wise. He is Garrett Bush, whether it is the barbershop, and you caught him on a Monday. I guess you know what how the way it works here. Somebody's got to work those Mondays. G. Right. Bush, Mac Robinson were the guys who drew those straws today at G. Bush 91. Make sure you're following over there. Of course, check everything out, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Garrett didn't know what to do with himself today. He actually had a Monday off, but then he didn't, as they just found another gig for him to pull because Garrett's talking 24/7, 365. Make sure you're following Garrett and obviously all the work he's doing here. Me personally at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. For everybody who makes us your first listen every day, means the world. YouTube, let's get those subscriptions up here as your boys start to work their way through here. This new venture together, whatever podcast platform you prefer. Make sure you're following, subscribe to the Locked On Browns podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and written reviews. And with that, folks, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Garrett knows the line. I know the line. LGB on the LOB.